Yeah, thank you,
Good
Doug.
answer. Also, they're Matt, nice team. Who's the other coach? He's a great guy too. It's been a good experience.
That's right. They were both Nats. Yeah. I think that would be
You're
Nats.
live, Devin.
Wireless.
Okay, let's go ahead and get started. Thank you all for joining Hudson 7 Drinking Water Council's hybrid monthly meeting. Today is Wednesday, June 10th. My name is Devin Rigolino. I am the Environmental Program Director for Dutchess County, and I am the Vice Chair of the Hudson 7. Our Chairman, Gary Bassett, is unable to be with us tonight, so I will be presiding tonight's meeting in his absence. And we now have a quorum, Rebecca. Hudson 7 hybrid meetings are live streamed on the Hudson 7's YouTube channel. The public is advised to subscribe to this channel. Our in-person meetings occur at the Poughkeepsie Water Treatment Facility located at 70 Waterworks Road, Poughkeepsie, New York. Public comment is allowed both in person and remotely. Please visit our website to learn how you can provide public comment by visiting www.hudson7.org and visit the meeting page. In attendance tonight, we're going to go around the table and then we'll go on Zoom. I've introduced myself to my left.
Richard Distel, City of Poughkeepsie.
Dan Shapley, Riverkeeper, Technical Advisor.
Hello, Nick Butler here, Town of Sopas Water Superintendent.
Liz Mosquito, Town of Hyde Park.
Eric Weinstock, Technical Advisor, Town of Hyde Park.
Ann Schurshin, Town of Poughkeepsie.
Donnie Nobley, Water Plant Administrator, Seat Second.
We have two members of the public. Do you want to introduce yourselves?
Roy Rosemary, a community management town.
Clayton, thank you.
Robert Plattner, same thing, community member, Town.
Thank you for joining us. On the screen, we have Rebecca,
Rebecca Martin, Source Water Protection Coordinator, Consultant.
Anna,
Anna Boutsikaris, New York State DEC Hudson River Estuary Program and Technical Advisor.
Paul,
Paul Malmrose, Engineering Technical Advisor.
and Ryan.
Good afternoon, Ryan Sharp, Town Board, Ward 5, Town of Poughkeepsie.
Thank you. So we have a quorum tonight. And does everyone have a chance to review the minutes from our May 13th meeting? Can I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make a motion to approve those.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Minutes are approved. I will give the treasurer's report in Gary's absence. Our account balance as of May 31st is $38,311.33. We received $6,252. I'm sorry, we made payments of $6,250. We've received since our last meeting, $27,500 in dues from our member local governments. And our account has accrued an interest of $25.96 over the last month. And now I will turn it over to Rebecca for our coordinator report.
Hi, everybody. So this month I've taken yet another pass to make this as easy as possible because there's a lot of tasks that match the goals that you've identified and grant work that's coming up. So what you have this month is an overview of the work and then a document that is more granular and that is living. And that I welcome you to take a look at. It also includes grants and where they fit into tasks, and you can kind of see the goal work, how the tasks are feeding into the goals that you identified, and everything is hyperlinked and clear as a way of just helping you to see all of the things, the small things and the large things in context to your goals instead of just text. So if you have any questions, now's the time, or anytime. You can speak to me offline as well.
I
Whatever.
just have a comment that Gary and Rebecca were on the radio one Sunday morning. I got up early and listened to it, and they did a great job. They really talked a lot of good things about the Hudson 7. So if you get a chance, I think Rebecca put it out so you could listen to it. So I encourage everybody.
Yeah. Any questions about my report or comments?
I'll just say I thought that the revision was good, Rebecca, and I like the links to the goals. It was good to be able to have that as a simple way to remind, a occasional visitor to your reports like me, how everything lines up. So
Good. Yeah, without a project management tool, we're always creating Excel sheets, but I think it's important. And I just want to make sure that it's easy for you to follow, even though it's a lot of info. And I'm sure it'll be more refined as the drinking water source protection work begins. So thank you. Devin, Shannon Roback has arrived too.
Hi, Shannon, can you just introduce yourself quick?
Hi, I'm Shannon Roback. I'm the science director at Riverkeeper and technical advisor to the Hudson 7.
Shannon. Rebecca, I want to echo Dan's sentiments. I also find the table format to be a lot more easy for me to digest, and you do a great job hyperlinking everything and not just your report and all of the council's materials, which makes it so easy. And I feel like, I just want to say thank you. So thank you, and when you're ready, you can continue communications.
I wonder, Devin, if it's okay to just jump to public comment just because people are waiting and then we can do the read the communications, if that's okay.
Yes.
All right, I'm just going to start with what's here, and if the folks in the room don't mind, I'm going to let Amy go first because Amy signed up, just out of respect for that. So if that's okay. We got a proposal from Dr. Diane Dintriff that came by way of the town of Esopus, suggesting exploration of an AI-assisted decision support tool to integrate existing public data sets, including USGS, Streamflow, and NOAA's tidal data and weather forecasts to help monitor saltwater intrusion risks to the Hudson. So I got that late, and I'm gonna send that around to you just so you have it. It's gonna be in your source materials that accompany this agenda. Next is a community member, Amy Jelenko, and I'm going to let Amy into the room. Amy is from Common Sense's Hudson Valley Group. Just let her get settled. Hi, Amy. Welcome.
Hello.
Thanks for joining us tonight, and you have the floor.
Thank you so much. So I'm really grateful to be here as part of the meeting, and I'm going to just read a very brief statement. So good evening. My name is Amy Jelenko, and I'm here speaking as a town of Clinton resident with ongoing concern about source water protection. So on Thursday, May 28th, the town of Clinton Planning Board issued a positive declaration under SECRA for the Six Senses Hudson Valley project, which is proposed in the town of Clinton. So I'm here to ask the Hudson 7 to consider that this project raises issues that fall within the mission and expertise and scope for providing advocacy and to ask to provide input during the scoping process. So this project is sited within the Hudson 7 source waters area with frontage on Crum Elbow Creek, involves large-scale water demand and wastewater treatment, which will empty into the Crum Elbow Creek. Stormwater management, construction impacts, habitat disturbance, and increased traffic all have potential for negatively impacting the drinking water and health of the flora and fauna that contribute to the overall health of the Hudson River watershed. These issues are directly connected to drinking water source protection, especially as our region faces more frequent drought stress, extreme rainfall events, and pressure from intensive development. So my objective, my hope here is to ensure that the final scope for the project requires significant and broad assessment of the risks to water health, including a rigorous independent review of groundwater supply, wastewater treatment and failure scenarios, stormwater runoff, and cumulative watershed impacts. During the SECRA review process, expert input already identified many potential negative impacts to downstream receiving waters. I respectfully ask the Hudson Sevens to review the positive declaration for the project and the draft scope, which is currently available, to identify water resource issues that should be studied within the DEIS, the environmental impact statement, and submit formal comments to the Clinton Planning Board, which the deadline is June 26th, asking that the DEIS rigorously evaluate these threats so that drinking water protection is fully represented in the public record. So we just ask the council to help ensure that the SECRA scope is complete, precautionary, and informed by drinking water source protection expertise. And just from what I've learned, certainly about the Hudson 7, about the group, is that this kind of input sounds like it falls squarely within the mandate for the organization to protect collective water supply through planning, advocacy, and action. And I'll just say thank you so much for your work protecting the Hudson River as a drinking water source. Certainly, even though I have I'm on a well, I know that living within a watershed, it impacts, my own water supply and the water supply of, probably millions of residents if you look at New York City. So thank you so much.
Thank you for your comment, for joining us tonight.
I have a follow-up. So we received a letter from Common Sense's Hudson Valley at around 4:30 that I'll also submit to the full council in your source materials. And Amy, just so I understand, the deadline for comment is June the 26th, which is like 16 days from now. When did the scoping process begin?
So scoping, the positive declaration was made on May 28th, but it looks like there was a draft scope that certainly became public. It looks like May 8th. So I think, so as I understand it, that draft scope to me looks like it's pretty limited. So this, again, sort of as I understand it, that now that we're in the public period, there's opportunity to really make sure that the scope encompasses everything that should be evaluated for all of the impacts of this project.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Yeah. Great. You're welcome to stay with us. You can stay on mute, you can go, whatever you're comfortable with. Devin, Debbie Heck just arrived online, and it looks like Supervisor Pecor too.
Yes.
Full house. Okay. So that's all I have here on Zoom. So if the public in the room wants to speak.
Yes.
Hi, so Lori and Rob also involved with Common Sense, was also sharing the same concerns. So we have a bit more detailed information. We also have copies of the letter, if you prefer hard copies, to finding it somewhere within your computer at some point in the future. So I'm just going to say, I think the date is May 28th. The fact that they had an initial scoping did not count for when the time frame begins or when the deadline is. So it's 60 days.
So May 28th is the
May
start.
28th is the start date, when the vote was made by the town of Clinton. So at the heart of the concern of the individuals who live in that area and the individuals who receive water, from Elbow Creek is a protected Class A trout stream and its tributary. These waterways flow directly through the project site and drain into the Hudson River just 2.5 miles downstream, serving as a vital drinking source for over 100,000 residents. The resort's developers estimate a wastewater demand of 20,000 gallons per day for 240 guests and 150 employees. However, we believe this severely underestimates the true footprint of a luxury facility featuring restaurants, spa, multiple pools, commercial, laundry, and equestrian facilities. More alarming is the plan to build an on-site wastewater treatment plant to discharge effluent directly into Elbow Creek via a bioswale. Standard treatment plants completely fail to filter out emerging contaminants, including pharmaceuticals, microplastics, and PFAS, forever chemicals. The threat to our drinking water is not theoretical. The Hyde Park Conservation Advisory Council has already warned that this project directly endangers the nearby Violet Avenue Water District wells. It will also affect nearby wells in other towns because these wells are hydraulically connected to the creek. Chemical runoff can rapidly infiltrate the public groundwater supply. Further, the resort intends to rely on a natural bioswale for filtration, but during our freezing winters, the ground hardens and plants go dormant. This means untreated chemical-laden wastewater and toxic stormwater runoff carrying road salts, heavy metals, vehicle fluids from the results. Sprawling impervious surfaces will wash completely unfiltered over the frozen ground straight into the creek and its floodplains. Additionally, engineering assumptions rely on the myth of dilution during seasonal low flows or droughts. There simply won't be enough water in the creek to dilute these concentrated toxins. Finally, New York law demands consideration of the cumulative impacts of this project. It sits within and directly adjacent to New York State designated disadvantaged communities, shunting thousands of gallons of chemical effluent downstream into the drinking water an already vulnerable population, which will create an unacceptable, disproportionate public health burden. The Hudson 7 has a mandated responsibility and an important opportunity to safeguard drinking water from the Hudson River. We urge you to submit formal comments to the Planning Board by the June 26th deadline, asking that the upcoming DEIS thoroughly evaluates these cumulative chemical and hydrologic threats. And we just thank you for your council that gets together and that protects our water. Most of us in the town of Clinton are on well water. Rhinebeck, I think, has some municipal water, but most of us are very dependent on what comes down from the sky and out of people's nets. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Are you interested in submitting your in paper too, or do you just want your comments?
So I have the letters, if you like, and I can put them, I was gonna keep one myself. I can put them on the table. Did you want a copy of my
You're welcome
comments?
to leave them.
I can leave a copy of my comments. There are a couple of things that Amy touched upon. So
Thank you.
a little bit of, she knew she couldn't come, and we didn't know for sure.
So can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Did you pose any of these concerns to the engineer that designed the treatment film?
Yes, we have those questions in the town meetings.
What was their response?
They were very confident that whatever they do will not fail and will be sufficient. But we are questioning whether they are accounting for the actual amount of water that they will use. The waters in the turn the battle and the numbers that they're presenting in their study.
One of your concerns is the plant may be undersized based on how many people you think
We think the plant may be undersized and that
that more people will show up than they're anticipating.
Excuse me?
More people will show up at the facility than they're anticipating.
As I said, I think the engineer's report underestimates how much water will be used. Based on the numbers they expect as guests and the amount of water that will be used in other ways, not just with guests.
Okay.
And that's what.
No, if the town planning board identified 4 areas, and they issued a positive that they wanted more information on. One of them is the water issue.
Oh, so some of these concerns have.
So
Yes.
So the town
that's
has
good. So the
identified
process
that
is working.
concern, so the process is working. There are some concerns that in other areas of water that so town will it's not going to address that we're trying to have the size of the scoping documents increased. And we're also we're using a professional hydrologist to get it, asking some of the hard questions that we think are necessary. Make sure those studies in September.
And we're reaching out to councils and agencies and advocacy groups and organizations, anyone who focused on any of these issues that we feel are not possibly appropriately addressed for the size of this project.
It's totally out of the realm of everything the town represented that face. biggest commercial facility we have is probably the local grocery that's,
That serves breakfast, lunch, and sometimes dinner.
Golden Gossip.
And so I think they're a little overwhelmed. It's the first time they've ever issued positive deck. Was the applicant is a large international hotel chain with a lot of money to spend. They're ready to sue the town of Clinton and High Park Bronson. There was initially determination against the project because High Park, the zone wasn't appropriate in High Park. That the law was changed in High Park so that it could go forward if the town's Clinton. So it's
I'm aware of the lessons.
okay, so it's been enough of a sort of struggle. But now we did get positive back and both those questions get fully addressed and
So it's the size and the characteristics and the scope of the project that's the greatest concern and the impact it has on various things in our community. Want to be one of the major ones.
in fact, it's only eligible to be where it is because it's qualified itself as a town center and not a resort hotel, even though, resort hotel, you can imagine. So otherwise hotels are prohibited actually in the city zoning.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for bringing it tonight. We appreciate that. You're welcome to stay for the meeting or.
So I'll just make one last
Yeah.
comment. So we actually own a property that borders Browns Pond itself. And that is downstream, that has its own tributary that's connected to the from the watershed. And it would be very, very sad to see any negative impact on that beautiful body of water. So,
Thank you. Thank you both.
Thank you, assistant. Appreciate it.
I do just wanna, Rebecca, can you read the comment? I believe Debbie wrote a comment.
Oh,
Yes, I will, and I did too. We've been chatting a little bit. Kathy wrote Jacobson is here also from the
Yeah.
town of Lloyd. Welcome, Kathy.
Hey everyone, sorry to be not on the video. I just don't have a great connection right now.
That's okay. Thanks for coming.
Glad you're here. We were just identifying that, in fact, it is a 30-day public comment period window, not 60, which would be better. And Debbie writes, not all of Ryan. Debbie, why don't you speak? I don't have to read your comment.
Hi, thank you, Rebecca, and thanks to everyone here. I just wanted to clarify on the comment that Rhinebeck is on municipal water. Some of Rhinebeck is on municipal water, but a lot of us who live in the town are not, and we're well water dependent, and we rely on having healthy, clean aquifers. And we're very concerned about what Six Senses can do with Crum Elbow Creek as an abutting municipality. So this does affect Rhinebeck as well.
Thank you. Well, we have a number of technical advisors with us tonight, and I would love to just pick some brains of we have a tight turnaround here. If the council did decide that they wanted to submit a comment or even just evaluate this to decide, we would need to do it prior to our next meeting in July. So I don't know, Dan, Jan, others, Jonathan, do you have any thoughts about whether or not maybe we should take a look at these materials and then just determine later on if we want to? We could maybe remotely just make that determination, but we could make a motion tonight to ask a few technical advisors to review this and then determine how to proceed.
This is Jonathan, Water Authority, Insurance Executive Director of Water Authority. Happy to review it. We're not currently involved in any way in this particular project, so we'll look at it and provide what comments we have.
Yeah, likewise, I can, Riverkeeper's not been involved with this project. I'm aware of the controversy. I live in Rhinebeck, so I've read about it, heard about it. I'll say on its face, it sounds like a lot of water. It's not a huge volume relative to a lot of what we deal with in the Hudson. So the particular impacts are probably unlikely to reach the Hudson in a significant way. That said, I think the Hudson 7 could usefully probably have a policy on, scoping, particularly just to get awareness of the impacts, as we've seen over time, the awareness that the Hudson is a water source and it is important has rippled out, and we're seeing, DEC recognize it, DOH recognize it different ways. And so this could be a good step to have something that's sort of maybe boilerplate, but, ready to go, just to make sure that local planning boards are aware of where the issues are and what is downstream. So it does seem like it could be useful in that regard.
Is there an engineering evaluation that speaks to the flows that are presented? Like, there's a.
I think the applicant has submitted all of theirs, which was in the paper micro something fiche on the town's website. I don't know whether Common Sense knows, which is sort of a loosely tied group of residents who have submitted many of their studies, but we do have some consultants and some experts who are reviewing.
Could I jump in? I'm sorry to interrupt, but we have some materials that we just got today at 4:30 that why don't I just circulate them? And Devin, if you want to take a simple motion to, we have one technical advisor who will review it and circle back around. The deadline for comment is the 26th, which will be prior to our meeting next month, which I heard you say, just to clarify. And to Dan's point, it's a good idea to do a policy and include time because to review materials and write comments take time. So,
Thank you, Rebecca. So what I would like to do is, obviously Clinton is outside of the council's membership, but they are a neighbor and we appreciate you coming. So I'd like to make a motion that at least one, but hopefully a few of our technical advisors can review the materials that have been submitted. They can then share with Anne, myself, and Gary as leadership what their determination is, whether the council should intervene in this or not. And then if they say yes, we will move forward with submitting a letter to the town. If they decide not based on their best judgment, the council will not take a position. Do I have a second for that motion? Thank you, Roscoe. Any discussion?
Can I make one comment? Would you like Common Senses to forward any of the materials that we have, or do you want to do your own?
Let's start with what the materials we have. It sounds like a bunch of materials have been submitted at 4:30. So we'll take a look at what we have. And I believe we have your contact information if we want any more.
This is comment on the scope, so it's bullet points kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I have a motion on the floor in a second. Do I have all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Rebecca, can we continue with communications?
sure. So I'm just going to do a quick recap because I know Paul has some slides and important things to discuss tonight with you all. I just posted some of our interviews with two of our water treatment plant professionals for our Water Appreciation Week that occurred in May. We also posted our presentation from last month on the Harmful Algal Bloom Roadmap Guide, where we hosted the DEC for folks to review. Chippy provided a notification. It is now live and providing energy to New York City. Just to formalize our bylaws, we went through this bylaw amendment process and that a communication was sent to the full council on May 18th following the adoption of the changes, to just make it very clear that the bylaw amendments are now adopted and posted on our website under the About section on May 13th. The EPA proposed rule to rescind regulatory determinations and regulations of PFAS chemicals, etc., is on the table with written comment that's open through July the 20th. And there's a link to that site to learn more. Dutchess County submitted their materials for the Hudson River Estuary Program grant that they were awarded in support of the Hudson Seven's work going forward. REMAC appointment for Hudson 7. Dan, was there any outcome?
So I haven't heard back from the chair and coordinator of REMAX, so I'll let you know if you can put in an application.
Sure.
I believe you will be able to. I just want to verify before you bother.
Thanks.
We reached out to Dottie during the Hudson River Psychiatric Center and water use, just to find out what happened and whether or not there was any need for additional water. Dottie, you can quickly read that if you'd like. I don't want to speak for you.
Okay, basically, we had no issues during the fire. We did have to increase rates to make sure that kept reservoirs, storage tanks filled, but ultimately there were no issues.
Thanks, Dottie. The Hudson 7 was on the Green Radio Hour with John Bowermaster for our 8th anniversary. There's a link to that recording. And this came in just the other day that the Fallkill Creek Flooding Public Informational Meeting is actually tonight at 6:30 p.m. at the Roosevelt Fire Station in Hyde Park. And just so that you're all aware, we submitted finally our contact list that we put together last year, and it's been updated with new members for Captain John Lipscomb to deliver to the Coast Guard regarding the communication chain in the case of emergencies, the start of something. There are no upcoming meetings and events to report, and we can move on to old business.
Thank you, Rebecca. So first action under old business, the Hudson 7 bylaws and policies. Rebecca, can you remind us what that one is?
Sure. So we adopted in our bylaws a new section for records management, which means we need a records management policy to go along with that new section of the bylaws. What's in front of you is what's been in front of you for 2 months is a very simple records management policy. That is, based on model language that we've seen, outlines the purpose, the retention, access, turnover, record destruction, incident response in the case of any missing or destroyed files, and compliance. Very basic. Certainly it's something that the council can build on in the future, but it at least provides us with some guidance now, given that we have a charge in our bylaws.
Yes, thank you. So obviously, the secretary and the treasurer are responsible for a lot of records. We're just trying to formalize this to ensure, as individuals move within and out of those positions, if we were to ever have a different coordinator, we want to make sure that things are passed along for the betterment of the organization. So can I have a motion to adopt the records management policy? Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
And any discussion? As Rebecca said, this has been before the council for a few months now, so hopefully everyone's had a chance to read it. And if, we do need to make any edits or amendments to it later down the line, we can do so. Can I have a vote? All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Paul, you're up next on the salt front.
Okay. We had 2 excellent meetings on Monday, and the first meeting was with the Hudson River Black River Regulating District. A lot to say in as a name. They should come up with something like Hudson 7, but we met with them on June 8th, and the reason why we met with them is their mission is to minimize floods by storing water in their reservoirs and then augmenting river flows from their reservoirs when the river flows are low. So what that means to us is if they can provide water to us during low river events, we can prevent the salt front from advancing. So that's the reason why we met with them. This is a map of New York State. They have two regions. One is in light blue, which is the Hudson River watershed, and then the other one is the Black River watershed. That water flows into Lake Ontario. Uh, but these these two groups were formed in the early 1900s and they merged in 1959. They're a New York State public benefit organization. And what they really are trying to do is they're providing flow for recreation, like white water rafting, and for generating hydroelectric power. And they're also concerned about water quality. What got me was, if you go to the next slide, their area, as shown on here, is about 4,260 square miles. The total watershed of the Hudson River is about 13,000. So they control about 1/3 of our watershed and provide approximately 1/3 of the probably the best water because they're getting their water from the Adirondacks. So that's the reason why I thought it was very important for us to meet with them. They got involved with us when we started our saltwater campaign, and we started talking to John Callahan, who is the executive director. And Dan and I have been trying to follow up with him and have had good discussions in the past. But he agreed to meet with us and his chief engineer, Robert Boltan. And we had Alan Pettit from Dutchess County, Jonathan Curran, Dan was there, Dottie was there, Rebecca and Randy Allstat, and I think Nick was there, but I'm not sure. So, um, so what they are required to do is have a minimum flow of about 23 2,300 MGD, which is needed for recreation, as I said, hydroelectric power and water quality. This flow is about 50% of the water flow that we received at the Hudson River during last summer. So the Hudson River, Black River Regulating Agency was providing 50% of our water during that time period. So that's why it's a very critical organization to us. The Hudson River minimum flow is about 2,300 MGD and can vary up to about 155,000 million gallons a day. Now, we only take about 13 to 20 million gallons a day, so we're not significant. There's no problem with us ever not having enough water. But if the water at Troy gets below 3,200, the salt front can be advancing. And that's based on information that Randy gathered. And so if the water amount is 3,200 million gallons a day at Troy, we can prevent the salt front from coming up. Now, the Hudson River, Black River provides about 1/3 of that flow. So we are trying to work with them to see what we can do about supplementing flows along those lines. One of their problems is they can discharge all their water in a day. They're 1,100 gallons per day. They can discharge that in 8 hours or 4 hours or whatever. But I don't think that would affect us. But probably they do it during the daytime when there's peak power demands and a need for recreation. We also asked them if they did sampling, and they do not do any water quality sampling, but USGS has several gauges in their system. So it's an organization that we'd like to continue to communicate with. The next meeting we had was with DEC, DOH, and USGS on the salt front model. USGS has completed the model and they validated the model. What they do is they build this model and then they take sampling results that they've gotten historically and see if the salt levels match the salt levels on their that exist. So they got a very good validation. So we were happy with that. And they kind of indicated to us that last summer was probably one of the worst cases for the salt levels for the water treatment plants. So they are wanted to develop scenarios about so we could determine how far the salt front would advance and also how long it would be present. Um, the model takes a very long time to run, so some of our experts recommended that they do a simpler model to get an idea of approximately where the salt front will be if the sea level rises 12 inches by 2040. So we're going to have another meeting with them once we have that preliminary information and then develop scenarios that would best help us when we have to start planning for alternative treatment processes to handle the salt or find another water source. You know, those are big picture items, and it's a lot of planning that would have to be done. So I'm glad we're getting started with this. And I think USGS has done a really good job in developing the model. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Paul?
I don't know if Dan wants to add anything.
I just want to thank you, Paul, for keeping these balls in the air and making sure that the process moves and the Hudson 7 stays involved. You've done a great job with that. And they are really important, hopefully longer term issues. But it's one of the questions to ask with the model is, when it becomes an issue, more of an issue.
So Paul, a question was just raised. Can you clarify on what the yearly amount, do you know the yearly flow that's coming from this district into the river? It's 1/3 of the overall flow?
It's probably about 1/3 of the overall flow going to the Hudson River.
Well, at low flow moments, right, Paul?
Yes.
When it's like in the midst of a drought, it might be contributing as much as 1/3 to what's coming over the dam at Troy.
I see.
So 1/3 of 1/3, maybe, of what we get here, or something like that. And I think, Paul, if I'm right, they said that, that's the maximum amount they can release, and they have, I forget, maybe a week or 2 weeks or something that
15 days.
15 days that they could release at that level. So it's not an infinite buffer. Even if they were to release everything for us to push the sulfur down. So there's and there are 29 parties on their current agreement on how they release water. So it's a complicated equation that we'd be potentially entering into to try to say, we're also, need some flow modification.
The data, as I remember it from the presentation, was that they typically run, it's either 15 or 1,700 cubic feet per second normally. And if they went to 4,000 cubic feet per second, they would drop 1 foot in their main reservoir per day.
Wow.
And in 15 days, they would be below the ability to support any use. So that would be untenable for them.
Wow.
But it's an amazing unseen part of the Hudson that, sort of like uncovered through this process, that there's this regulation of the overall volume that happens at that lake for decades, but We don't think about it.
It is amazing how it's all interconnected.
Yeah.
Up in Adirondacks, way north, way north of the dam. So Paul, they're currently gonna go back and run this more simple model. Do we have a timeline for that? Will we have an update by the next meeting? Do we know?
No, I don't think we'll have an update by the next meeting. I was trying to get them to meet on June 16th, but I don't think that they said that's not going to happen. So I'm a little concerned because now the summer comes up, so we'll probably talk in September before we see anything more.
Okay. Well, thank you. So the next item is the area contingency plan, spill risks and vessel safety. John's not with us tonight, but I believe he has an update that he shared with Rebecca.
I think we'll wait for John to come back in July because there's a lot going on, but it is an opportunity if you wanted Devin to just give a quick overview of the Dutchess County LEPC meeting. Um, what's the acronym? It's the
Local Emergency Planning Committee.
thank you.
Yeah.
And the what the one of the main takeaways ended up being with the presentation suggestions.
So I'm involved with Dutchess County. Every county in the country has a local emergency planning committee, which is responsible for documenting storage of large chemicals. There's a list of, hundreds of different chemicals that are stored around us to do everything. And so because of all these, tragedies that were happening back in the 60s or 70s, LEPCs were established through federal law. And so the LEPC in Dutchess County, and there's another one in Ulster County, has this inventory of what's called tier 2 facilities. And so I sit on this committee and I help them with mapping and things like that. And as I'm sitting in these meetings, I'm hearing them talk about wanting to meet with CSX, and I'm hearing them talk about wanting to meet with the Coast Guard. And then I come here and I'm hearing us have the same conversations. So I really wanted a subgroup of the Hudson 7 to meet with the LEPC. And so that happened last week, I think it was. And basically the LEPC gave a little presentation about what they're all about. The Hudson 7 gave a presentation about what we're all about. And it was sort of like a first introductory conversation, first of hopefully many. We're going to try to reconvene in September. We're going to be sharing some resources back and forth. So once we have, obviously the DWSB2 adopted, that'll go to them for their consideration. They have some updated maps that are going to come to us for consideration. And really, I think that we have a lot of common interests. There is a little bit of separation in that they're really focused on I would say planning and response. So emergency response, if one of these tier 2 facilities, if there was a giant chemical spill, how do they rally support to clean it up? We're obviously more focused and interested on prevention, but also planning, right? So I think that if you did a Venn diagram, where we overlap is the planning piece. So we have a lot of similar partners, again, CSX and the Coast Guard and the DEC and DOH. And it got me thinking that, it could be that we could be allies for each other's causes, and we want to eventually have a conversation with the Ulster LEPC too. If there is something that happens and we want to write a letter to the state about something or a letter to the Coast Guard about something, perhaps if it's signed by the Hudson 7 and both LEPCs, it has even more weight than just if we were to write, 3 separate letters alone. So it's the first of hopefully many conversations, and I appreciate everyone from the Hudson 7 who was involved. We had a good turnout.
It was also notable that there was interest in bringing both the Dutchess and Ulster County LEPC, the equivalent, or a presentation in the fall, which was great. So more on that. Well, we haven't talked to Ulster County and Andy's not here, but it was great that that was raised to kind of bring everyone together efficiently. Great. Thank you, Devin. CSX rail safety. So, um, Hudson 7 submitted a letter following a meeting with Maurice O'Connell. The letter was submitted as a follow-up with questions and requests on April the 15th, and it's taken a little time. We heard back from CSX, and we are working now to schedule a follow-up meeting with them at the end of June. And those who have been involved in this conversation should have received a doodle. So that's upcoming.
And Rebecca, for the next two, do you think we should table for John again, or do you have any updates for those?
I think it's a good idea to table until John is here.
Sounds good.
For on-site treatment and disposal of leachate at landfills rulemaking. And on Central Hudson MGP, there was a sighting of coal tar that was reported during a riverkeeper sampling in May. A photograph was sent around. We started a brand new segment of our timeline tracking of coal tar. We really started tracking it last September, as you all know. In the timeline now we have a new tab for 2026, and we're going to start ground truthing and documenting coal tar sightings again this year. Gary is working on a meeting with Kelly Turturro and staff at the DEC in order and Central Hudson for next steps and learning what Central Hudson intends to do. We're waiting for that meeting. And that is all for new business, Devin, unless there are questions.
Any questions? So we'll move on to reports of committees. So unfortunately, Mike and Paige aren't able to be with us tonight. They're traveling, but I believe they sent a quick update that can be shared. Rebecca, do you have that for the WSP2 committee?
Yeah, sure. So the good news is that Paige and Mike have received another draft of the plan from the state. They're meeting with Paige and Mike are meeting with state reviewers this Friday, the 12th, to go over their comments. And they'll be scheduling a meeting with the project management team, which is us, finally soon to go over comments and next steps. So I'll be in touch with folks who are part of the PMT. And Paige and Mike can provide a DWSP2 overview to both Dutchess and Ulster County LEPC. So Mike was also in attendance at the meeting that Devin described when that meeting occurs, which is really excellent that they can play a role in that. And that's their update.
Thank you. I already talked about the LEPC meeting there, so we can move on to the water treatment plant committee.
So the water treatment plant committee met on June the 1st, and Dottie and maybe Nick too have updates for you to consider.
So on Monday when we met, we had discussed potentially having a training session for operators sometime in October. The tentative topics that we were going to discuss water quality, specifically about the salt front modeling and disinfection byproduct and current emerging regulations. The salt front portion may need to be reevaluated though, since we don't have the information modeling that we were looking for. So we might have to tweak this a little bit. But that would also lead us into treatment options like how to reduce disinfection byproducts, national trends that are occurring right now. And then we could have some sort of like case study discussion to talk about how we can improve our efforts now and in the future about our the HAB issue, salt front, and then different processes that we're currently using at the both facilities in order to address disinfection byproducts. And then we also can include something about emergency responses and how losing power and maintaining drinking water can be done. So, that's great.
Any questions? Yeah, those sound like great topics to me. The Lower Sopus Creek. Any updates, Paul?
Well, things have slowed down at New York City because the new mayor has different goals for the city. So everything kind of halted. We're having a meeting this Friday to talk about things, and we're going to be visiting the gatehouse at the Shokan Reservoir. the big issue that I'm working on, and Dan and our committee is minimum flows out of the SOPIS, out of the show can to the SOPIS. It's our feeling that in order to improve the environment of the lower SOPIS, the minimum flows have to be increased. And of course, minimum flows affect us. The more water we can get, the farther back we can push the salt front. So that's what's going on there.
Well, for the Hudson 7 Strategic Planning Committee, that committee has not met since our last time the full council met, but I can give a quick update that I attend as a part of the strategic planning process. The Hudson River Watershed Alliance is doing a capacity building monthly cohort series, workshop series, and so it brings together a bunch of different watershed groups, including the Hudson 7. So that we just met today. Today's topic was about financial risks, and honestly, it's an interesting and really helpful cohort to be a part of. It's nice to know that the things that the Hudson 7 is dealing with in terms of growing our capacity, concerns that we, policies and procedures that we don't have that we need, like others are experiencing similar things, so we can sort of learn as a cohort and go through and lean on each other. So it's been good so far. And then I will just give a quick update that because Gary's out of town today, today the Hudson 7 nonprofit was supposed to have its second meeting, but that's been tabled and pushed till July. And I guess another update for that is that the paperwork has been submitted to New York Bureau of Charities or New York Charities Bureau to officially register the nonprofit with New York State. And that concludes our reports on committees. Does anyone have any questions about strategic planning or any of the committee reports? We have just one item for new business tonight, IBM discharge.
That's John Lipscomb's too, so we'll table that until July.
Gary's gonna, hey, I'm right on time, guys. Can I have a motion, unless there's anything else anyone would like to bring up, can I have a motion to adjourn? I'll move. Second.
All in favor?